Yeah. As a baby.
How's your age? She's doing great.
Wow.
Es me siguiendo caminando. No sé. We're ready to go.
Yes, ma'am, whenever you say.
This program policy committee meeting comes to order. It is 5:32. I will take roll call. Jackie Levin Ramos present. Erica Benavides Garcia.
Present.
Cindy Liendo. Absent. Mercurio Martinez Junior.
Present.
Present. Thank you. We do not have a quorum, but we're okay. Agenda item number 3, approve modifications to the following Laredo College Board policies. Dr. David Arrezola and Ms. Veronica Cardenas, CJ Local Transportation Management, DEAB Local Compensation Plan, Wage and Hour Loss. Dr. Arrezola and Ms. Cardenas.
Good evening, board members. Dr. Ramirez, David Arrezola, Vice President of Compliance and Risk Management for the record.
Veronica Garza Cárdenas, Senior Director of Human Resources.
The two policies that were presented today, we had brought before, but in our discussions with legal and TASB, we decided to take them back, kind of take another look at them again and review them, make sure that they're in the right place, first of all, and whatever is in here is okay. So since we last met, we met as a team. We reviewed with TASB the changes that we're proposing, and legal has reviewed them as well. And I think we're ready to come forward with this policy. So the policy addresses what driver requirements for employees. So we do not have a policy in our manual that explicitly deals with employee travel and employee requirements. So we had to put this in the most appropriate place to put this in the student travel. And it basically says that in order for employees to travel under the college's permission, they have to be eligible to drive. So they have to have valid Texas driver's license and so on. It also makes sure that the employees, while driving, obey applicable state laws, traffic laws, that they are not texting and driving, and so on and so forth. So it's a very basic policy, just kind of ensures and reminds employees to their responsibilities when driving on behalf of college business.
Dr. Arrezola.
Yes.
We already had in place, or the red part where it says a driver who's transporting students in college district owner,
The
these
red-
vehicles must.
Yeah, that was what it was already in there.
Okay, but this applies to students or in general?
Now, there's any employee who's driving under college business.
Okay, so that's why it says all employees who are assigned to duties that require the operation of a vehicle for Laredo College District business must be deemed eligible.
Yeah, and actually, I think I might have misunderstood your question, but yes, the part in red, the
Mhm.
way it was written seemed to imply that it only applies when traveling with students.
That's what I was asking.
So
Okay.
we're trying to broaden the policy.
So the first statement or the first sentence encompasses everything and everybody,
Mm.
including students, okay. Does this require that when I sign up to work here, if I'm a new employee, Ms. Cardenas, do I have to have a driver's license? Okay. So,
Yes, we do require a driver's license in the job description, first of all.
okay, so first of all, it is already known that you must have a driver's license.
Correct. To be
Right.
employed, and you have to maintain, a valid driver's license.
But not
If you're
not a
employed
driver's
here-
license, I mean, a driver's license to operate a commercial vehicle.
No.
which are different.
Any.
Right.
Any vehicle,
Do
sir.
they take them in a?
So
Suburban,
it could
it's
be
just a
on
regular driver's
college
license?
travel.
Or they take them in a, do they rent a van, it's a regular. Right?
Dr. Ramirez?
So for clarification, the student travel piece is one. The employee driving is the second piece, which is the section in blue. So if an employee is going to be hired and requires them to drive a vehicle, which in this case, whether it's taking students or going on school business for a conference and they're asked to rent a car, they must abide by these rules. If when they're hired, they're going to need a CDL driver's license or a different kind of commercial vehicle driver's license, it will state in their job description that that license is required. And then if they don't have that license, then they won't be hired for the position. If they're already hired, let's say in physical plant, and then they decide to transfer to a different department that requires that additional license that they don't have, if they don't meet the qualifications for that new position that they want, they won't be considered for the job because they don't meet the job description requirements.
So I mean that they would be required to take that.
Well, if they want to apply
proper
for the
license.
job, they need to bring that driver's license.
That's
Yes.
Correct.
So what we did was, where do we put this where it makes most sense? While this is a transportation management policy, and yes, the primary focus is for students. So what we put in blue is the general focus of an employee that is required to drive a vehicle that is either owned or rented by Laredo College.
So what I was trying to ascertain, like, try to figure out, right?
Mhm.
Since you're telling me here as an employee, I'm assigned to duties that require the operation of a vehicle for Laredo College. But I asked the question, going back, when I get hired, when the person gets hired, they have to have a driver's license. So shouldn't that be a stipulation or a sentence that states there? Even though it is required to, that you hold a driver's license prior, or when you get hired, somewhere around here, because then that tells you that, are they gonna get it between the time that they were hired? And then like Judge was saying, if I'm gonna drive a vehicle other than, like a car, and do I have to get a CDL or something like that? You know what I mean? And I think we talk about I go back to the bus, the bus that we had when we were, that we purchased, but only certain people could drive it because only certain people had the CDL. But not everybody knew that, right? People would just say, wait, just drive the bus and you could take off, It's like, no, you have to have a special license, right? So that in itself is like what Dr. Ramirez is saying. That's above. If you don't have it, then you don't drive it, right? But in this case, that's why I was asking. They must have a driver's license when they become an employee of LC,
Can
correct?
I interject?
Yes.
So that would be any employee.
Mm.
Every single employee has to have a new driver's license?
If their job requires them to drive only.
No, but when you get hired, that is one of the requirements, right? Your driver's license.
We started adding the requirement because there's travel to South Campus, there's travels to
So
go
any
get
job, really.
errands,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And so, the purpose of this policy is really to work with employees at the time they will want to travel. So sometimes you could be hired today and not really have to travel for college business for several years, but we want to make sure you have a valid driver's license at the time that you are going to travel. Ms. Salinas and Ms. Moreno here, who are our Safety and Risk Management Department, they're in charge of maintaining the approved driver list.
Okay, then you have a statement right at the very bottom of the first paragraph. Driver eligibility will be reviewed every 2 years.
Mhm.
Who does that?
Listen.
So you're gonna review everybody's, go ahead, but you're gonna review everybody's eligibility prior to them leaving or prior to them using a vehicle?
Okay, Cassandra Salinas, Safety and Risk Manager for the record. So one of the things that what we wanted to implement is because any individual whose job requires them to drive should be deemed an eligible driver through the Department of Public Safety. Working with HR, safety and risk management, anybody whose duties requires that, we're gonna run their driver's license through DPS.
Okay,
And it'll be reviewed every 2 years.
so would you review automatically or you will review as needed?
So for this purpose, it'll be automatic, and as we see, if we need a change, we can make changes.
Okay, I'd like to still tweak it out a little bit more, just make sure that we follow through, because if I take off on a trip, I just did, for the school district, they don't check me. They don't check whether I have a driver's license or not. Like when I take off and we take off, we're on school business. Nobody checks my driver's license. Nobody says let me see your driver's license to see if it's updated or anything like that. They just take it for granted, and I am representing the district at the time. So that's one of the clarifications that we need to make sure that we're covered. Dr. Ramirez?
And one of the things, so when I lease a vehicle in the name of the college, I have to show a valid driver's license. The issue is that at any given point, if somebody gets, for whatever reason, some kind of citation where where the driver's license is revoked for whatever reason, if they don't report it to HR and Cassandra hasn't checked, we don't know.
Right.
And we're incurring a liability on behalf of the college if they're going in their own vehicle. And that's why we try to steer our employees away from using their own vehicle when on college business. Because at least we can guarantee one stop within that 2 years when they go pick up the vehicle.
Okay.
So that is typically one way of, now if 4 people are in the car
That's what I was gonna say.
and they rotate and somebody in the car drives the vehicle, that's a fireable offense if they didn't have the appropriate driver's license.
Okay.
It should be, because they have now put the school,
And
all of you individually in liability
liability.
for driving a vehicle without a valid driver's license.
so therein lies another question. So if there are more than one person, everybody that's riding in that car, it should have a valid driver's license, because you never know.
Yes.
Like Dr. Ramirez says, when they're going or coming back, I don't feel well, and I'm the one that rented the car. Will you want to take over? You want to drive for me because I don't feel well,
So the student, the SAP for student travel, all our travel leaders do need to be deemed eligible drivers.
Okay.
So if anybody gets tired, they're trying to fall asleep, they're able to switch out drivers.
Okay. And last but not least, is there any way that we can put here on that policy, failure to comply will deem that the person be terminated, Because right now, I just know I have to follow the rules, but that's why you put employees are subject to disciplinary action for violation of laws or policies related to the operation of a vehicle on college business, including but not limited to remedial training, suspension of driving privileges, or termination of employment. So are you in negotiation? Like, will you negotiate if I don't have my driver's license and I didn't renew it?
So
That's
we
what I'm
would work
saying,
with HR, yes, especially if your job is to travel from campus to campus, if you're a recruiter going to the school districts, we don't want to have that risk on Laredo College. So we would work with HR and ultimately come up with a decision.
Ms. Cardenas?
Yeah, I think that sentence really opens it up for different things. Like if you're driving and you're unsafe and you get a citation, then that's probably gonna have a disciplinary action versus you drove and they found out you didn't have a driver's license. And so that could be termination. So it just depends on the situation.
So those 3 are available still?
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Ramirez? All 3 of them?
If they're driving without a driver's license, knowingly, that their driver's license is expired or revoked or whatever reason, we're gonna recommend termination to you all. Now, if somebody gets a ticket from here, between here and South Campus for swerving or whatever, then we can send them to defensive driving, we can have them, then it will depend on that, as long as the driver's license is valid, because one, while it's maybe breaking the law, there are remedies. The other, breaking the law and really putting the entire system, the entire college district at risk if there's an accident, and we knowingly, that's the other piece, right? Is that if you knowingly did this, then that's where you're negligent. And it's in that negligence that then you're insubordinate and therefore you can get fired.
So all those three, like, because it says suspension of driving privileges. Like, did they already suspended their license or something, or they haven't renewed their license on time? So they wouldn't be able to drive something from here. Okay. Deemed as necessary. Then I would say,
And a lot of it might depend on what their job responsibilities are. So if we have an employee, say, whose driver's license was completely revoked, and their job is to drive, we'd have to take all of that into consideration.
any other comments? Okay, so that one is for the
CJ Local.
CJ local. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cassandra. Thank you.
Okay, so we're presenting this DEAB local for modification, specifically in the section of compensatory time. We wanted to make sure that we put here what's more in line with our current practices. In general, comp time is not paid, but rather it's accumulated. We want to allow here a grace period. That's what we're putting in here. A grace period to take the accumulated time after the fiscal year ends. So 3 months, we're giving employees 3 months. That would be around November. Also, if that grace period isn't met, then the employee will be required to be off until all comp time is taken. Now, we're also wanting to reduce the maximum accrual from 80 hours to 40 hours to be more manageable for everyone. We also included here, instead of saying duty year, we wanted to be specific and say it's the fiscal year for more clarification.
I just need to
Yes.
internalize. I just read it. Who is non-exempt?
Those are our hourly employees.
And do they have to have, I don't know if I see it or if I don't see it, but do they have to have permission to do comp time?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It's in here that they do have to have permission, where it says non-exempt.
Are they advised, for example, before the pay period ends, that they are over by a certain amount, or?
That is the responsibility of the supervisor to manage their employees' time for that week.
Okay,
Sometimes it's inevitable and they will do the comp time. So this is just to handle that part of it.
so this would apply only to the hourly employee who clocks in and out and stays over.
Mhm.
Let's
Correct.
say they have an event
Correct.
and the employee stays over for till 10 o'clock because they were doing an event and so forth. Then they get to take that comp time at the discretion of the department, of course, right?
The department, it cannot disrupt the operations of the department.
And before they were getting paid?
Mm-mm.
No, no, they were not getting paid. This is what we've been in practice, always accrue comp time, and we advise the employees when they come on board, and of course, through the supervisors, that they cannot accumulate comp time.
Dr. Ramirez?
Thank you, Ms. Ramos, and thank you, Ms. Cardenas. One of the conversations we've been having is the amount of hours that is being accrued, and we can't manage that if a year goes by and they have all this comp. Well, when are they going to take it? So the idea is we shorten it. The moment anybody hits 40 hours, if they hit it, guess what? The supervisor has to make arrangements to give them the time off, because if not, we get to the critical time in August when we need everybody here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, well, he's gonna be gone for 2 weeks because he had all this comp time he needed to take.
Mhm.
Well, that's the worst time to take it. And so ideally, we want to push that back so that we don't have people with 300 hours of comp time.
Fiscal year, Mr. Vela, is October 1st through September 30? No,
September.
That'll be September 1st through August 31st,
September 1st
through August 31st.
through August 31st.
And may I add?
Yes,
Like,
ma'am.
So they're supposed to take it during the fiscal year, right? But for whatever reason, if you all are like busier, it is in August, then that's when you have
That
the
grace.
3 month waiting, like the 3 month
Grace
period, right?
Mhm.
Grace period. So that they can do it at the time, okay?
I think that, well, it needs to be conveyed to the supervisors because I've often seen, and I just came from my own personal experience, in a year, earning 40 hours of comp time is just like, no, it's not possible when you are come in at a certain time and you leave at a certain time. But I know it applies to certain departments that do registration. Maybe they do, maybe they work at the library because they are open in different times and maybe somebody didn't show up and so forth. But I think giving a grace period of 3 months after the fiscal year, I think it's a little too much. Honestly, I think it should be done within the fiscal year. And if you do not meet the time to, like you should know, like you know your time ins, time outs and stuff.
They know.
And the 3 months afterwards, it ends up becoming a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. You don't finish it, you don't take your comp time, you're supposed to know how much comp time you have. So if you don't take it between September 1st and October 31st, you lose it. And that's possible because it happens with us. I don't earn comp time, of course, but I notice the other employees and they must meet it before the last day of, let's say, for example, with us, it's June the 1st, for example.
I used to lose.
But we can't.
Right.
You give them a 3 months grace period to that employee and one employee will say, I didn't have time. I wish I could have taken it, but I am going on a vacation September the 1st, so I'll save my time. And I'm being honest here, like I see these things happening and when you put it by fiscal year, they hurry up and they know I have a certain time, so I'm gonna be taking time off here, and here. This is just a suggestion that I give to you all based on what I've seen before. I don't know if others have seen that too and the different.
I just think that if we have to take care of ourselves, because maybe when it comes to August, like if the year is from September the 1st to August the 31st, and they want to take it because they just accrued it,
In
and they
August.
want to take it right there and then, hey, right now you can't take it, I'm sorry, even though the fiscal year just ended.
Mhm.
But maybe it doesn't have to be 3 months, but it can be a month. It has to be something, because at the end of the day, that's gonna benefit the college, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
So
yeah.
they do have to have a little bit of leeway. I think the college has to have a little bit of leeway.
But 3 months is, I think, a little bit.
And that may be
But
too
that
much,
might be
but-
me. You all make your decision and if you feel that it works for you all, I'm just saying from previous experience, when you give extra time like that, and I see it for some of the employees, it runs a little bit different here because of everybody's working all year round, but you have to have a cutoff date, so.
So one of the things, the reason we did the 3 months is anytime most of our overtime is either gonna be in August and September,
Mhm.
because that's the beginning of the year, and then in January. When we're trying to get the semester started up again and everybody's, going nuts. And then around graduation, when we have all the events going on. And so that's typically when we get the highest numbers, when we're trying to get all these things ready and worked out. So those that Ms. Garcia is correct, those that gain those comp time hours during August, they're not gonna take it in September. Because chances are you can't go on vacation in September. It's the first month of school. So it would have to wait till October or November. And many times they take it the week of Thanksgiving
Mhm.
because the students are gone and so it helps everybody kind of take a chill at that point. But, I mean, we respect that. We can take a look at it again and say, when is the most logical time?
And-
Mr. Velas?
And what about, I'm sorry, well, what about like if you, because you see your schedule doesn't coincide with the fiscal year, right?
Correct.
So like if you do it the other way where it's August to December, right? That's the first section. And then the other section is, January to July, right? So whatever you earn, do you have a lot of stuff going on in July?
No.
Okay, so you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, the point of concern is August,
Mhm.
right? August will not be, they won't take whatever they earn in August, they're not going to take by August 31st.
Right.
And we start our new year September 1. There's no way. But I defer to Mr. Vela.
I'm sorry, Cesar Vela, VP of Finance and Administration. One other thing to consider is, as Dr. Ramirez mentioned, a lot of our staff will put in comp time during registration. So it's usually August, September. So it makes it difficult, especially for those offices that have to be here during registration, for the supervisor to have all those employees in. If we only give a month, then it makes it difficult for them because they'll be short-staffed. So that's why we kind of looked at the 3 months, because that gives us the ability to schedule those employees.
Because
And-
what I was gonna say is that at the end of the day, they have to have permission by their supervisor, like, it has to be okayed by their supervisor.
Correct.
Even in those 3 months, it has to be okayed. But if there is 5 people in that department that need it, then you're gonna have 2 out 1 week, 2 out another week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna place a burden on the
If
department.
everybody waits for 3 months. after
But the thing
3
is that it
months.
just depends if it's
Feasible.
situated at that time.
Mhm.
And that's really the time when they have.
So
As
the,
long as it works and it's not abused.
so the goal for the supervisor is to not allow it to get to the
Right.
40 hours.
Mhm.
Right.
We're only looking at that area where we have the August registrations and all the events that we have going on. And so then that accumulation would be able to be taken within those 3 months. And we decided on 3 months because, like you mentioned, there are some departments that are small. And so we want to be able to allow them sufficient time to take it.
And I guess what's conflicting is the fiscal year and then the regular year. Like the regular year, because what happens, the most earned overtime hours happen in August, maybe May. So those are your months, right? So it's just making sure that, it's because if you say fiscal year, then at 3 months after the fiscal year is gonna be
November.
September,
November.
October, November, so December. So
It's November.
but 3 months after the fiscal year ends is August,
It
September,
would be
October,
September,
November.
October, November. 3
So
months.
your last day to take the comp time is
November
November 30th, right? So, and most of them take during Thanksgiving, right?
Well,
So
they're
the-
off the week of Thanksgiving anyway, so it's the week before Thanksgiving that a
That they
lot of
can.
people want to take.
Yeah, but then they have time to earn more comp time between, let's say I want to take it in December. But I cannot take I cannot take anything in December because I should have been earned by the end of the fiscal year or beginning of the fiscal year, right?
No, because what happens if they had earned it in the new year, like in August? You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what I'm saying.
Well,
What
no,
they're talking
September.
about is when it's ended in August and they still haven't taken it.
Mhm.
You're right. It kind of like the
Yeah.
fiscal and the whatever, but if they get it in September, like overtime in September, October, even in November, then they can take it in December.
Sure,
It's allowed
yes,
because it's in
Absolutely.
their 40-hour range. It's not past the fiscal year.
Yeah, it's because the fiscal year is what's throwing it off. Because, like I said, if you earn the 40 hours, you're supposed to clear it by, let's say, in the next pay period or something like that, Like you cannot hold on to it for the whole semester. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that's on the supervisor to make sure that they do take it.
okay,
Yes, I mean, we're looking out more for like towards the end of the fiscal year. That we can't we don't want them to have an accumulation that at the end of the day, they're gonna say, I'm leaving because the end of the fiscal year is here. I've already accumulated this time. And here we are with a lot of work.
So before, if they had 80 hours, plus they would take off 2 weeks. If the supervisor gave them permission, they could take off the 2 weeks.
They could,
Plus, if they had any vacation time, they could put it together.
they could. But that's, I don't think that that's feasible for the supervisor.
No.
So I don't think that that's a practice really that any supervisor that really needs that employee would work.
And 40 hours is now the max.
Yes.
That's what we're proposing to you all.
Okay. Okay.
So are we okay with the 3 months just?
I've been out for a while, so I came back a little bit strong, like asking a lot of questions. I'm
No,
sorry,
well,
but.
No, it's
Just for your peace of mind, Ms. Ramos, I did have, Ms. Cardenas look into the idea of, okay, if they don't take their comp time by a certain period, can they lose it?
Use it or lose it.
According to her, by law, no.
No, because it's hours earned. Fair Labor Standards Act would not be happy.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Then I'll go back and check over there.
So we'll leave in the 3 months.
Yeah.
So once this gets approved, we will notify all the employees and the supervisors so that way they can keep track of that.
Okay.
We'll update the employee handbook with the new
Yes.
policy.
Mhm.
Okay, and then removing the last sentence, right, from on page 2,
Yes.
it's also included, but you're removing
That we will
has
pay.
any unused compensatory time remaining at the end of the grace period. The employee will not be allowed to return to work until all compensatory time has been taken. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Anything you want us to look for in policy management as it relates for our next policy meeting in 2 weeks? I mean, 2 weeks, 2 months, sorry. Next month is, sorry.
I believe we need to put in the evaluation, the president's evaluation through program and policy,
Yes, ma'am.
setting up a timeline, and the day that we need to put in a timeline, vote on it, and then also work on the it's the same tool, so it's just a matter of adopting the same tool once again. That's the only one that I think is coming up for July the 1st, I think.
Mhm.
And if we can do that next month, which is May, I guess basically that was the only one that I think we just need to address. It's just that it's a formality through the program and policy.
Do you want us to have another program and policy meeting next month to go over that?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have program and policy next month and student success, both.
To address what issue, Ms. Ramos?
Of the president's evaluation, the yearly evaluation, we just need to set up a timeline and start the cycle. And I don't know of any other one, but Dr. Aresola, you have anything?
The other one we might consider is a board self-evaluation. That should be,
Okay, yeah,
Usually done in
thank
the
you for
summer, too.
reminding me. Yes, please. So the other one is the board self-evaluation. I think it's because I put it together with those, but thank you for reminding me.
As we get ready for our SACS fifth year review next year,
Mhm.
we need to make sure we have all of these procedures very well outlined,
Mhm, mhm.
and that we can show proof from for the previous 5 years.
Yes, we do. I think we followed through, right, Ms. Bocanegra? For
Mhm.
more than 5 years. I believe it's been close to 10 already. Well, only because I'm the one that puts it together, so, but we do have a record of that. And the evaluations, I think, started about 6 years ago.
And the trainings that the board has to do.
Yes. Mhm. The
As
training.
required by policy.
Yeah, so board evaluation and president's evaluation. Anything else from our committee members? Anything else from our administrative staff? No, we're good? Okay. So this meeting is, I think it's finished.
Thank
It's
you.
early, 6:07. We're adjourned at 6:06. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those fast.
Short, sweet,
Yes.
and to the point.